So I will talk, as Eric was introducing, about SAP's global mindfulness practice and how to bring a practice to a global organization. So what is SAP? Who is SAP? Just to start with, and this is a picture of our corporate headquarters in Walldorf, close to Heidelberg in Germany. And SAP is a global, the leading provider of business software, a global market leader in our segment. We have about 290,000 customers. We have 70,000 employees all around the world, so it's a very influential company. And it's a 42-year-old company, so it's a very successful pioneer and innovator again and again, so that we grow that strongly. And in the sense of being a pioneer and an innovator, we are building now a global mindfulness practice. We're rolling mindfulness out to all our employees. We want to make it, or we're in the process of making it a practice, not just a training, but something which is rooted in the company. It's part of how we do business. And what is my role in this? So I'm an industrial engineer by training. I'm German, as my accent probably tells. And I worked most of my time in the consulting field services within SAP. And about 10 years ago, mindfulness found me. I found mindfulness. And I started meditating. And I noticed in my role that something shifted, that I was more able to deal with very demanding situations, with a lot of overwhelm. When you manage a global software rollout, there are days where a lot comes at you. And I noticed I'm getting better in managing this, being focused, reset myself, my capacity to be with other people. And I didn't even have words for it in the beginning, but I could see something was shifting. And I have to say, for the first years, I was a closet meditator. So I was not talking about this in my company. It was something I felt it's not appropriate in an IT consulting field, seeing my colleagues. So it was even the case that in the beginning, when I went on, once a year I go on a silent retreat for 10 days at least once a year. And when I did this in the beginning, I invented some stories so that I was like, colleagues, I'm going on a sailing trip. I really have no cell phone reception. You will not reach me. So that I don't have to talk about that I'm meditating. But then things are shifted over the years. And the idea being inspired by people in the Silicon Valley, by people like Chade-Meng Tan or by Pam Weiss or many others, who started bringing this into in the corporate world, I felt this would be cool if we could do the same at SAP. So, but I was not sure, would this work? So this was me, and then I started to have conversations about this. I started in 2012. And I knew 2 more people in Germany who meditated, so this were 3 of us. This was my beginning in a 77,000 people company, or at this time maybe 75,000. So, and we really didn't know, are there more people interested in this? This is just a few group of people who are dreamers. And a little bit, I was feeling like a lone nut, to be honest. But I started having conversations. I talked with many people. How would it be if we would bring these trainings to our company? And I got an interesting response. I heard the same answer again and again, which was, Peter, mindfulness-based trainings for emotional intelligence, that sounds really interesting. I would do this, but the company is not ready. And I heard this again and again. And I'm curious in the room, how many of you feel like this? You're in an environment where you feel you would like to do this, but maybe the company is not ready? Thank you. And I have good news. Here we are, 4 years later. And so we introduced a 16-hour training. And by now, 1,850 people have been trained. And even more amazing, we have 4,700 on our wait list. So basically, with every one single person who goes on the training, through the training, he recommends it to 2 colleagues on average. So this is good. Everybody should have this. And we're not doing much marketing. It's really word of mouth. Because this waitlist is becoming a positive problem. Because it takes long until people get trained. So we are in the process of building all of this. So the question is, and here's just another picture to show. Here's the pointer, let me show. So it's not just in San Francisco, it's all around the world. By now we have trained in 22 locations. So the blue dots are places where we have done the training. And the green dots are actually practice communities. So we're starting also in our big offices to build communities of practice where people can practice, as the name mindfulness practice is saying. So the big question then is how to do this, how to bring this to an organization. And I want to share my journey, our findings with my team in a very pragmatic way, where we have, I want to share our lessons learned, and I walk with this through you in a step-by-step guide. I share the lessons learned, and I share the business impact we are measuring, and how I can convince could convince our senior leadership. And as I'm a German engineer, I really like structures. So pardon me, but I have a 9-step process in 3 phases. To me, it helps. And some other people said it's helpful. So let's start with the first phases. The 3 phases are first groundwork, the second one is evidence, and the third one is rollout and scale. And each of the 3 phases basically represents also the amount of time. So it took about a year to really do the groundwork. It took about a year to create the evidence. And then now we're in the 3rd year and beyond, where we do the rollout and scale. Just to give you a perspective, it takes endurance. So let's start with the groundwork. And it starts by finding a leader and building a team. And you need a leader who has an own mindfulness practice, who comes from a place that the leader believes this is working, and comes from a deep conviction, from a deep personal experience, but also who has business background, who can sell this, who has credibility. So being a successful engineer with a long track record and then starting, actually I observe my breath and it helps, helps a lot to sell this or to raise awareness. And it has to be someone who is able to sell this, to speak in the right language to executives, but also to win followers, so that this person can adjust targets specifically to whom you're talking. It takes persistence, drive, and courage. So it's not that people roll out the red carpet, oh yeah, mindfulness. It might change in the next years, but it still takes persistence. It's still something we're growing now, but it's still something rather new. And we have many skeptics. And it's really helpful when you start doing this to start with a big vision. How do you want to do this? So for instance, we started in the very beginning already thinking, okay, if this would work, how would I scale this? How do I teach that training? How, if we do trainings, if it works, how can I bring this to the whole organization? And this helped to, and I talk more about this. So this is the leadership. And also start in the beginning by building a team, not just doing it on your own. And find like-minded people. Find people that are also passionate about this and that will act as multipliers, specifically if you're in a big organization, so that it's not just all on your shoulders. And you have a sounding board, other people. And again, it's key in our experience that people have their own practice. So we see now that many people are excited, and also people who have just got a first glimpse of it. But a deeper practice, a deeper personal experience helps to understand what the depth in it is. And business success. So people who find multipliers who are visible and then coming also out of the closet. And we're seeing this now with the growing success that more and more people actually following, so that we can support a global rollout. And I want to quote an African proverb. If you want to walk fast, you can walk alone. But if you want to walk far, walk together. So build a team. Step number 2. Create a specific answer, a specific pitch. Why mindfulness for your organization? Don't use cookie cutter. Because every organization is different. And the first step there, and we heard this in the morning from this gentleman from Starbucks, is really listen. Listen, what are the concerns in your company? Listen, what are the concerns from your executives? And the more you can answer these questions, the better you spark their curiosity. Ideally, you link it to the goals of your organization. And there are so many ways how mindfulness is beneficial that you find a way to explain this. And yes, create a business case, because bring it to business, there has to be business impact. If you deliver business impact or organizational impact, if you're in a non-profit, then you convince the leaders that they can invest money in this, money and time. And I want to share, this is the structure we developed within SAP. And just really quick, and you get the slides if you want as a PDF, so you don't need to you can, of course, photograph them, but so emotional intelligence is important. It's our leadership competencies. The majority of them are EI-based. And mindfulness is, of course, the key to train emotional intelligence. So this leads to 3 areas: stellar work performance, motivation, job satisfaction, enhanced leadership skills. And what we see above here is the 4 corporate goals SAP had in 2013 when I was building this structure. So employee engagement, margin, growth, and customer success. And so we created the storyline, why this is helping the success of our company. And I think maybe you can take parts of this, or maybe everything. So create a business case, explain this. And then the third one, also really important in the groundwork, find the right communication and marketing for this topic. Be aware, there are still people, for many people, there's still bias around mindfulness. This is still something, and I want to share another example. So I'm also an executive coach. I coach, not at the moment, but at that time I coached leaders in our company next to my main job. And I had a lady, a coaching client of mine, an executive in Palo Alto, and I could see that she was quite unsettled, and I was suggesting, shall we try mindfulness meditation? And she was really like offended, said, I don't do this hippie bee shit. So this was her words. She felt like this was insulting, and I was surprised, because for me it was so natural to meditate since many years. And then 3 weeks later, she continued to be a client with me, and 3 weeks later I suggested, how about doing an attention training, that you can sharpen your focus and be a little more grounded? And she's like, yeah, that sounds interesting. So I guided her through a 10-minute guided meditation. I adjusted a different word, and then she said, oh, this was good. So for me, this was a big aha. Be aware of language. It doesn't have to be meaningful for me. You have to reach the person you want to reach, the human being you want to reach. So business language, keep it secular. Be aware that it's not touchy-feely, that it's non-religious, that it's safe for a business environment, that you attract the skeptics, the people who are curious, but who don't want to have any religious, dangerous thing. And then another point we find important, that you rather focus on enhancing potential of people than curing deficiencies. So I see often that mindfulness is only being placed in wellness. And of course, this is one important piece, that it's increasing your wellness. But specifically for alpha male and alpha female type of leaders, for people who define themselves about their capacity to perform, to endure stress, they're not attracted to health programs. They will not go. Actually, health is something that's like, yeah, other people can do this. So if you frame this program more for personal development, personal growth, organizational development, strengths training, or we call it a mental strengths training, as the title was suggesting in my presentation, this is where people get attracted. So, and for this reason, we also don't have it in our health department. It's an overarching initiative. And again, health is a very important piece, and it's involved, but it's not the only thing. And one more example for the right language. So when I started building my pitch, and I saw this picture, I found it, and I was really excited. I loved this. Yeah, this is how it will change. And I had a conversation with one of my senior leaders, and she was offended. Said, Peter, I'm seeing this picture. I don't even want to listen anymore to your conversation. This is nothing I'm attracted to. She was very high in the organization. Again, I felt like, ouch. And thanks to self-regulation, I could come back and realized, thank you, very, very useful information. So we don't use this picture. Again, we keep this secular. We keep it in the business language, that people feel attracted to it. That's important to know. And so my language in selling this, in dealing with this, has become way more business-like than it was a few years ago, because, of course, I learned meditation in meditation centers and in my yoga community, and I had a different language, and I had to shift. And I can see that people are more open to this now in our environment. And again, this is just a pragmatic suggestion, what worked within an engineering-based company. So when you have your groundwork done, the business case, the right language, and your language, that it's, if you want to teach this and explain this, that it's, of course, it has to be genuine for yourself, that you feel this is how you want to talk about it. The next step is create evidence. Create evidence it's working in your organization. First step for evidence is find a program. So either you can build one on your own, or you work with an external provider. And what were our needs? We wanted to have a strong brand, something which helps to sell it. Important is that it's a provider where they have depth in teaching mindfulness, and that they have depth also in ethics and compassion and kindness. That it's not just flat mindfulness. And we can see that more and more mindfulness teachers and then organizations are popping up now, since it's becoming a trend topic. And I really encourage everybody to look what's the background of the organization. So I know a few people who were coaches a few years ago, all of a sudden they become mindfulness instructors. So deep background is important. Neuroscience and scientific evidence helps in a very fact-driven environment. We wanted to have someone who supports a global rollout and who can support teacher training, speaking of scaling, and who is close to the high-performance culture of a global tech company. So surprise, surprise, our partner we're working with, we choose, and we're very happy, is Search Inside Yourself Leadership Institute, a program which was born at Google. Google is very similar to our workforce and has proven there, so we felt we don't need to reinvent the wheel, and it actually helped to sell this internally. And now we're a big partner of Search Inside Yourself, and we're also influencing the Google guys now. So there's really a beautiful collaboration in developing this program further. Quick view on the program for the ones of you who might don't know it. It's a 16-hour program, which we deliver in formats between 2 days and 8 weeks, depending on where we're doing it. And our target groups are, we teach it mainly, we offer it mainly for all employees, so regular employees and managers together. I think this is the best way to do it. But we're offering it also for leaders only, and I missed one point here. We have a very few exceptions where we do it for whole teams. Although I have to say what's very important in our experience, it has to be voluntarily. You can't force people. If you force people in, you will have people who don't want to be there. You take the risk, and they take away the security of the whole training. So it's not a good idea, at least in our experience. What we do in addition to the program, we do a lot of integrating activities at SAP. So we offer different ways to encourage people for personal practice. We send regular email reminders. We invite for learning partners. We have virtual practice groups. We offer webinars. We offer audio self-studies and more. We offer local practice groups, the green dots you saw on the world map earlier, so where we build regular practice. For many people, it helps to do this in the beginning together and to integrate this into the company. And also, SAP has a huge coaching pool. We have a global coaching practice as well with about 500 coaches worldwide. And some of them have mindfulness backgrounds, so they help us. If people starting to practice, they can ask for a mindfulness coach, or if they face some difficulties. Next level. So you have chosen the program, or you do something on your own, whatever you decide, is how to find a sponsor. How to find a sponsor for this cultural change. And ideally, if you do a cultural change in an organization, you have it bottom up and top down. In our case, it started clearly bottom up. It was first a grassroots initiative driven by employees. And the way how we did it is we invited Jade Meng Tan, and here we see also Mark Lesser and a few others, in mid-2013 as a public speaker. And there was the question, is this working at SAP? Is there more than 3 people interested in this? And the good thing was, yes, several hundred turned to be in the audience. And so we could see, yes, there is a big interest in this topic. So in Palo Alto is a location where we do many pilots. And then we had also the people we could address, in an interest list we could address to bring them into the first pilots. It's very helpful to attract multiplier, people who want to help you. And then once you have found sponsorship, demonstrate evidence with pilots. So start with pilots. Start with a few pilots that you can learn. Is this program working? What can you do better? And we started, as I said, in Palo Alto, our location where we do pilots. And we also felt in the Silicon Valley Bay Area it's a good place to start. And we didn't know, is this program working in SAP's workforce? And we were very pleased, as you could see, it was a result of 6.34 out of 7. 1 very bad, 7 really good, and this was a high result in compared to other training ratings. Also getting testimonials, and if a German vice president for sales, a German engineer is saying this is a life-changing program and one of the 2 programs in his career really made an impact, this helped sell this further. So with the first pilots in the US, I went to our German leadership, so SAP is bigger in Germany, and it was again funny. an executive there said, yeah, Peter, we believe you that meditation in San Francisco Bay Area is working, maybe not in Germany, right? And not at the East Coast in the US and at other places. So, but I could convince him to do more pilots so that we not guess, but that we create more evidence. And to our big surprise, the pilots were better received. So 6.65 out of 7 in Germany is really high. So the overall the results with about 350 people in our pilots were 6.53 out of 7, and also many, many very positive statements, feedbacks. So evidence is created. What's next? How to move into rollout and scale. First one, or step number 7, gain momentum with the successful pilots. How to do this? Use the business impact studies. And I will talk about the studies we did after the pilots in a minute and share the metrics. Use testimonials. So we asked some of these people, would you be willing, if you really feel this is a helpful course, and in the pioneering spirit, would you be willing to have your name and your role and a statement? And we got many, many people who wanted to help. And then with this, you can make it visible if you put names to faces. Another very important point, from day one, we kept it special. So it's something, we framed it, it's an invitation, it's a gift from the company. We invite you to a 2-day training where you can improve yourself. We bring in a very, very demanded, globally demanded training. And so the way how we're doing it, since then, and it grew fantastically, is that we told people half a year in advance, we will come. If you're interested, if you want to make sure that you are being notified once the training is scheduled, here's a registration list, a pre-registration list. And so before we came to Germany, we had already several hundred people on this list, this wait list. And in the beginning, again, it was just to understand, okay, how is the demand? We didn't know, I didn't know, so it was to get data point, and then I could see, oh, this is really helpful. So get this bigger and bigger wait list. And talking to later in the journey, when I talked the first time to my boss now, at this time I was in a different department, our chief learning officer, and when I could tell her 1.5 years ago our wait list is at 1,500 people, she had a physical reaction. So I could see this is good data. Because running globally trainings in the company, she clearly knows how that is not very often that you get big wait lists on trainings you're rolling out, you're offering. Then work with internal and external attention so that you show people are interested. So waitlist is one. Also speaking at conferences, get media attention helped, specifically if it's in the beginning, specifically if it's new in your field, in your organization. This is something which will become or is already something cool, something innovative. So, and sometimes the profit has to leave the own country. So if you are externally regarded, or in our case, also some of our big customers asking me, can you come? This is cool what you're doing. Then my senior executives are surprised when some of our major global customers inviting me to their leadership conferences. Like, oh, really? We should invite him too. And then the formal roles. So since January 2014, I'm SAP's Director of Mindfulness. I mean, I'm still in like, wow, this is really happening. Thank you. And again, it helped in the company so that this became something formal, that we have a whole practice, a whole department for this. So this is not nothing people do like little secretly in a niche. No, this is something the company is officially supporting. This gives some people permission who wouldn't like to do this if it's something which just the very brave people are doing, who don't care too much about public opinion. Good, next step. Okay, now we're still here. Right, the business impact metrics. So I have 2 metrics to offer, or 3. One thing we did is in the pilots, and this is a little extended one with 650 participants in 2014, 2015, is we asked them before the class, 4 weeks later, and 6 months later, 10 questions. How is your average level of well-being? How meaningful do you feel your work? How would you rate your personal engagement? How much do you feel able to focus on one task at a time? How stressed do you feel? And overwhelmed? And the other questions. So 10 questions on a scale from 0 to 10. And then we ask them again 4 weeks later. And the baseline is the question before the training. And then we can see here, the blue bar, the first one, is after 4 weeks, and we can see here, the little green bar is 6 months later, and so the big number there is what we have after 6 months. So it's amazing to see that all of the measures are increasing, and they're increasing even stronger after 6 months. So there's a long, there's a strong sustainability, and the only one who's decreasing is the perceived stress. And of course, we attracted the multiplier. So these are people who want also that this program works. But there's also some skeptics, and it's not that everybody is only. So I think we have a fair amount of curious skeptics who got transformed. And then the second metrics I want to share is we asked them also, what is your level of practice? Do you have any type of mindfulness practice, like meditation, mindful walking, journaling, mindful eating, any type of resetting your mind, contemplation? And we offered 4 answers. No practice, a little bit of practice, 1 to 5 minutes occasionally. I practice most days, 5 to 20 minutes, or I practice 20 minutes or more daily. So what we can see here is, and the baseline is, I don't practice. That in all the measures, all the questions we're asking, there's a very clear and strong correlation. The more the people practice, the higher they rate in all of the measures. So if you practice nothing, this was a baseline. If you practice a little bit, 5% higher. If you practice 5 to 20 minutes, 9.6% higher. If you practice daily, 13.6% higher. We can see there is a strong correlation. If you practice, it helps you in these values. So, and these are all, so this is strong data supporting you have to do something, it's great. If you do it, it will help you. But this is self-reported data after the training, so people who know they're reporting about, okay, how is this training being rated? And then we did another, these are some highlights, and I share the slides later. And we have now new data, and I just got this last week, and I have a little disclaimer, so I can't show the monetary value in this slide because I have just to validate before what I can share. But the data I'm showing now is from our employee survey. So I have an annual employee survey for all employees worldwide, and we looked at the data of almost 1,300 Search and Cite Yourself participants compared to a random control group. And what we were curious, is there any difference in our population? So it's the annual survey. The people report how is their well-being with the whole company, or how do they relate to the whole company. And what we can see is that we have a statistically significant and substantial impact in employee engagement. It's 1.18%. It might not seem much, but this is, if you tie this to the dollar value, this is a very strong result according to our data scientists, and also compared to other programs. So there are not many other programs who come at all to a statistically significant result. We can see that leadership trust is increasing. So if people and/or leaders attending to the class, the trust in the leader, do I trust my leader and the leaders above, is increasing. This is, of course, again, a monetary value. We can see that absenteeism goes down. People are more present, and this leads to a positive return on investment. So again, I hope I can publish the dollar value, and I will do this if I can in a few weeks. What we see is, and depending on how you calculate it, it's a very conservative calculation, that this program actually gives the company more money than it costs. So there's a positive return on investment. And here's a statement from our data scientist: SAP's mindfulness practice has a substantial measurable impact on numerous financial and non-financial KPIs in 2015. It's unquestionably helping SAP's bottom line. So thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about this. And it was some work to get this together. And then what's also very important or very interesting here is we did, or this gentleman, our scientist, did some density mapping. He looked, okay, and what he could see is if we have leaders and employees in the same unit participating, the leadership trust is twice as much higher. So it's suggesting bring leaders and employees together in the training. And also, if you have several people, several peers, again, all these values and engagement, trust, and going higher, and absenteeism is going lower. So we also see that there's a certain radiating effect. Means if you have a few people in an organizational unit attending, it lifts the whole unit. So to the question, how many people at the end will do this type of training? I don't believe everybody in the company will become a mindful person and will attend these trainings. Maybe 20, perhaps 30% at max, I would assume. But knowing that there is a radiating effect and this has an impact to the whole organization is beautiful data to see. So I have to get a little going, timing-wise. So at a point, we shifted from the grassroots initiative to SAP's global mindfulness practice. So it's a centrally sponsored program. It's overarching. So it's in the learning organization, including HR, including global health, marketing, development, and others. So it's really overarching. Here is a few examples of make this visible and show internally that this is being perceived as interesting in the public. The next step number 8 out of 9, is sustainability and integration. So once the momentum is building up, how to make sure that people start developing a practice, that it creates an impact in the company. So we should suggest to our participants self-practice, self-study, and group practice. We offer a virtual platform, virtual support. We offer on-site practice support. So we offer local on-site groups where we do all kinds of practices like meditation, mindful lunch, refresher, deep dives in how to train emotional intelligence. We offer best practice exchange, peer group exchange, and more. And how do we do this? How do we build this? Okay, here's our it's a piece of SAP software. It's good if you're in a software company, then you have software to build global platforms. It's called GEM, so you can click in there and then you see this is where we manage our trainings, the wait list, all the content we are sharing. And pardon me if I'm going a little faster. We have here about 2,500 registered users. We see a traffic of about 2,000 clicks a month, so people are interested. And our waitlist, as I said, has now grown to 4,700, a positive problem to have. And the 9th step, and this is really important, I want to have a little time to allude on this, it's our mindfulness community. So it's not just me, it's a whole team of beautiful people who are supporting this globally. And we are attracting more and more people. It's great to work in a global company and to see that there are actually many people who have a practice, and we're attracting them. And many people of them are actually very successful in what they're doing, and now they're feeling more and more encouraged to be part of this. And some of them even takes a big stress in traveling to California in autumn and enduring the harsh conditions to become a trainer. So these are Germans who were really suffering that they had to be. Just kidding, of course. So here's a picture. This is how it looks like, and this is one of our chief development architects who is leading a group, and he has a Zen practice of 20 years, and he's now a teacher. And people looking, oh, this guy is so successful in his business, and he's teaching this. I might want to have a look. So, and we're in the middle of our second teacher training. We will have in Q3 we will have 24 teachers worldwide. So it's a global program, and these teachers are multiplier, which need to have depth in their practice, as I said, and in business. And so this really helps to anchor this. We're training a lot in a tandem model, so we're having internal people then with external people. And it's for knowledge transfer, of course, that you bring the knowledge and anchor it, that you have one common set of language, that you have credibility, and it's becoming more cost efficient if you're doing this with internal people. And it's a beautiful network within the company, really having people from all different cultures all around the world. It's a really exciting thing to do. And we're building also these local communities of local mindfulness ambassadors and volunteers. Means that we in the locations we're building, that we're offering this formal roles to have a certain governance structure, because what we learned is mindfulness is becoming now more public, and many people are really excited about the fact that SAP is doing mindfulness. And so, just to share 2 examples, recently there was in the Silicon Valley one gentleman who wanted to bring a training for enlightenment through yogic transmission, mindfulness at SAP, enlightenment through yogic transmission, and of course we had to stop this because this is very dangerous for the program. This is not the language we want to do, and Or when I was teaching in India a year ago, and we asked volunteers, we could see that people with certain religious backgrounds or with certain practices wanted to bring this in. And again, governance structure, so we are very clear what's allowed, what's not allowed, so to keep it growing, to keep it safe for the business context, language. And it has become a thing people really want to participate in. So whenever we open for new locations, the application process, we have about 3 times as much applicants as we offer roles. It's really beautiful to see. This is, we want to talk about our aspirations. This is how it will look like at the year end, I hope, maybe a little more. So it's growing, it's spreading. We will deliver more data, we're collecting this. And finally, in my belief, I mean, as Richard Davidson has said at the Davos Forum a year ago, mindfulness has become an explosive trend. And in our population, with now 6,500 followers, I would say, yes, I see this. And I think every company, every organization has just 2 choices. Either you can be an early adopter, still time, or you run behind. It will come. Yeah. Thank you very much. Do we have time for questions? I'll keep it here. Oh, yes. If you don't have questions, I'm also happy to answer in the speaker's corner. Questions? Otherwise, I give you 2 more minutes for a little whatever break.
All right. Well, let's thank Peter again. Thank you so much. I think that this is a just phenomenal example of exactly what we're trying to talk about here at the conference. An organization that's really bringing this in at a cultural level with full support, with a long-term goal and a great structure to support it. So thank you again, Peter, for sharing with us.
Thank you. I'm really having fun in doing this, so.